What's up, guys? Super Miles EO here. It's been a minute, but we're back and better than ever. We are now in that intermediate phase between Christmas and New Year's. That's what we're doing. So merry belated Christmas and or early New Year. That's the zone we're in. You might notice my little snowman friend right here. It's like this little putty toy that you can build up and it'll slowly melt. And so maybe by the time we're done today, uh, this guy will be a little puddle on the desk. So look forward to that. But you got to stick through the whole video to see that. So I gotcha. Um, and anyways, today we are going to be going over a song that I've not really talked about yet, even though I released it almost a year ago. I want to say maybe 10 months or so. Um, and that is Ghost. Now, before we get into the logic session, I do just briefly want to talk about it a little bit because this is probably, I would say, the most real song for me. There's a lot of songs that I mean, I would say almost all my songs have significant meaning to me in some way or another, but a lot of them are a little more broader, general sort of ideas versus actual experiences that I've had, or just sort of things that are a little harder to pin down. But this song in particular is about a real situation that is still very, it just it hits you hard. It hits me hard, and I felt like I needed to express it in a way, and that's where this song came to be. I'm not going to be going into like the nitty gritty details or drama or any of that, but I will be briefly talking about sort of the backstory leading up to this song. Um, so I will do that. Basically, contrary to what I think some people initially thought when they heard this, this song is not about a breakup necessarily, but it is sort of tangentially related to a situation like that. Basically, this song, as the name suggests, Ghost, it's kind of, it definitely has to do with losing a sort of friend or maybe multiple friends and losing all communication with them, sort of, and sort of trying to make things right and not really being able to. Basically, to make a long story very short, um, I was in this. This was mostly during high schools when all of this took place. I was in my first relationship at the time, and it lasted almost 2 years, and it was great for a while. And eventually, I mean, it kind of went sour. I definitely am to blame for a lot of that. I was immature, probably not ready for any of that, and I definitely made some regrettable just decisions in the way that I behaved and all of that stuff. Again, not going to get into that, but suffice it to say, um, because of me, really, that relationship quickly went south, and um, but when it ended, I feel like it was pretty civil and a pretty clean cut, and we both felt good about the situation, as much as we could possibly. And so it was kind of a surprise to me when later on I sort of came to find out that um, a lot of my mutual friends, because me and my ex, we did have a lot of mutual friends. It was sort of this whole big friend group, and I came to find out that I'd sort of been excommunicated from that. And I found this out months and months after the actual breakup because they had all gone off to college, and so there was a bit of distance. Anyways, I just assumed everything was sort of status quo. And then I found all this out, and so this song is sort of about that whole situation, but in particular, one person, kind of my best friend for several years, definitely the loss that sort of hurt the worst. I would say long term, um, much more difficult than any breakup I've ever had. Even though initially, of course, the breakup much more intense, but again, long term, over the months, has been much more difficult to handle. Still dealing with a lot of that, and so that's sort of what this is about. You can interpret this song as being about multiple people, because I do mention in plural, I mention bridges being burned down, all of this stuff. So it is about this whole group, but in particular, I think one person sort of inspired the feelings that led to this song, or inspired or I don't know how to describe that. Basically, um, that's what we're dealing with here. So, is related to a breakup, but it's not necessarily about that one person, um, about a relationship. It's more about losing friendship, which in some ways can be, equally, if not more difficult, as I said. And so that's enough of that. I'm not going to go into any more. I think that's enough backstory, and we will address a little bit more of those specifics as we get into the lyrics. But for now, I think it's about time to look at the music of this. And so, without further ado, my favorite little trick. Here we go. Bam! It never gets old. And I'm going to graciously, liberally, whatever, apply. I got a lot of this stuff for Christmas. Some chapstick, which I don't find my lips to be particularly chapped, but I mean, I've been eating this stuff like crazy. It's really good. You should try it. Anyways, I'm gonna put on my headphones real quick, and let's get into this. So you're looking at the Logic session right now, and I hope it feels good. Now this is another thing that's worth noting, is it does look a little bit different. You can see here there's some like muted tracks, and it says ghost bip or whatever. I'm assuming that stands for bounced in place, because that's exactly what I had to do. Another long story that I'll make shorter. I'll get more into depth in this when I release my new album, and I'll be going over some of those songs pretty soon. So stay tuned. But I somehow broke my audio interface. I think I fried it because I plugged in something when the preamp was on, or whatever you want to call it, and in one way or another, I fried the interface. Doesn't work anymore. I ordered a new one that was a newer edition, and it forces all my projects to be in 48 kilohertz instead of 44. I don't entirely know what all that means, but I had to go and change all of my old projects that I wanted to work on, and flex pitch messes up that process, and so I had to bounce those tracks in place. And so it's going to look a little bit different, some of these projects. Anyways, I think we've talked for long enough. Let's get into some of this. The first thing I think we need to address is the time signature. So just go ahead and listen to the guitar part for just a minute, and sort of feel it out. So you can see it's not necessarily what you might expect. It's sort of an asymmetrical meter. And again, you music theory true nerds can let me know in the comments what you would how you would maybe notate this if you were going to. Of course, I don't really worry about that, but there's a couple ways I could think. As you can see, the time signature here, which if I put the clicker on, that's exactly what it is 13/8. So there are 13 beats in this sort of phrase that I've set up, the dum da 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 dum dum da da dum. You could also think about it in maybe a 6 and then a 7, which you could further subdivide. So like 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2. Or you could do it like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3. That's kind of probably how I would feel it. So like here we go. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3. I don't know if that. Hopefully that's lining up. I don't know. Sometimes there's issues with my audio, so maybe I was totally counting off the thing there. But yeah, I think I would. However you want to think about it or divide it, however you would notate that, that's what it is. And I sort of just came about that just playing around on the guitar. I'll show you. You might notice my guitar gently sleeping back there, gently weeping perhaps, I don't know. But I can show you how I thought of that and sort of what inspired it. But yeah, that's what the meter is. and I think it creates a nice like again asymmetrical sort of a feel that really works well here. And I added this flute part later to sort of accentuate that. Yeah, so there's some nice movement there. There's a lot of flute in this song, which, and so actually, did I think I might have planned this out in MIDI. Let's listen to that. It's always so fascinating going back because I can't ever remember sort of what I came up with on the fly and what I came up with in MIDI. It looks like I did. Oh, go away. Yeah, so it looks like I actually... So that's interesting. I've been trying to do that somewhat lately, is playing things out in MIDI, which is always fun. And then it's pretty easy. I just go back and record all the parts on the flute, and it allows me to sort of not have to keep recording things, see if they work. I can just play around on MIDI. This guitar part, you can break it down into two pieces. You've got this part up here, which is sort of the lower part. There we go. And that's the verse. That's really all it is. Then you have this higher part here, which I think I might have used my smaller, I guess, a mini Martin or baby Martin, whatever it's called. So same exact rhythm, some higher arpeggios, different inversions, so it kind of goes nicely together. And then those are panned slightly. I don't even know if that's possible to play all of that in at the same time. I'm sure there's somebody who could do it. Certainly not me. So I just went ahead and split that into different parts. And then, of course, the flute goes along with that. Another piece that's here throughout is this string ensemble, which is all MIDI. You can say what you want about MIDI strings. I think when you use it like this, just as a sort of supplement in the background, it works just fine for what I do. But obviously, it doesn't hold a candle to real strings. But I don't really have access to that, so there you go. So those are just playing the bass notes. There's no actual bass part. I do like to include bass in my stuff, but I felt like this one was just a little too lyric or legato and delicate. I didn't want to go with like an actual bass, so I decided to sort of fill those frequencies with a string ensemble instead. And the guitar part's already pretty low, so I think that worked out pretty well. I was going to say something else. What was it? I don't remember. I'm sure I'll remember in a sec. So that's pretty, that's what we got here. The chords are pretty simple throughout. There's a couple sort of money chords that I can show you guys, but this is also something that's pretty exciting. You can see a little bit of it here, but I used to have this dinky little 32 key or whatever MIDI controller, and I never really used anything except for the keyboard part. It also had some other buttons on it, and I was like, this is ridiculous. I need a lot more keys, and so I got a lot more keys. This is not a full size. It's like 60 something keys, but that is more than enough for what I do. So let's go ahead and go to no, actually, let's stick with electric piano. I think is what it's on right now. I think you can hear that. So yeah, the chords are pretty simple. It's yeah. So we got a 1, 5, 4, and then I think yeah. So that's all it is. And there's a couple more later on that I can show you. But that's what that is. This is going to be super fun to show off some stuff. because now I can actually play properly and not this tiny little keyboard. So you can have the full experience of my subpar piano playing. Now let's get into this verse.
Staring at the message I sent last month and wondering if I should send another.
So it's kind of sparse vocals. You got one line or you got like a couple words, staring, and then you got kind of a stretch. You can just hear the instruments. Kind of these shorter separated lines, which kind of works well with the sort of weird meter. Kind of might be tricky to have a long continuous line, but I think this works pretty well. Later on we have some longer lines, but for the verses it's pretty sparse with the vocals, which is fun. I don't know why there's 3. I think I might have just tripled it just because it needed extra. I don't know what I was doing, but I think these are all the exact same.
If I should send another.
Yeah, those are all the same recording. I guess I duplicated it for some reason. But there you go. And that was my philosophy for all these verses. I did add something a little bit different. Is this the...
Dreaming.
Yeah, so those first 2 verses, sort of, again, just the exact same guitar part and string sound that you've heard, just looped.
Talking.
Yeah. Then, this verse, dreaming.
Ride. Dreaming.
Yeah. And so, this is a little riff that shows up a lot. Yes. Da, 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 da. And then the flutes are sort of playing what they did in the beginning, I think. That's a nice chord right there. I like that one because right now it just sounds like a B minor, but you remember that the I'm not on the MIDI track anymore. It's a B minor, but the bass is or the actual chord that the guitar is playing is a G, so you actually end up with a major 7 sound. And so that's I like that that crunch there. Yeah, and there you go. And I think this is where we get into the chorus. So different chords, more fun stuff. So let's give this a listen here.
One by one, the bridge is burned down, done and done, except that they've won without saying a word.
It's a little overpowering. You guys know what the lead vocal sounds like, so I'm just going to mute these 2 and we're just left at this one.
One by one, the bridge is burned down.
So this is the first time we end up with some vocal harmony. That's what this sounds like here.
One by one, the bridge is burned down, done and done, except that they've won without saying a word.
That's getting up there for me. So yeah, and that's the only place it shows up is those 2 lines there. Just those 2 parts for now. I think we add a third later. And then the flutes, doing this. So I like this counterpoint when different parts are moving at different times. So you got one line that's going da 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 da, and then the da 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 da. They're moving in different parts, of course. What's this? Oh, I guess I arranged these in a strange way. Yeah, and then this one's moving differently. Nope, those are the same. I guess it's this one. Yeah. So, Where did my MIDI track go? It's right here. I'll just put that at the top. Yeah, so here we have like I'm sorry you guys can't see all the keys, but we have like pretty simple, just minor 6, 5, 4, 1. I like that chord progression. It works. It's pretty good, and it stays that way until we get to here.
Trying to make things right.
Or,
Tired of crying and vying and
so now we have like which is a minor 2. To make things right, and then here's where I'm not quite sure how to explain this, but this is what we have. So, trying to make things right when all they can do is deny, or whatever it is. Now, this is sort of, if you just listen to these guys. So, this is a classic chord progression that I like to use a lot. It would be the, you know, flat 6, flat 7, 1. The guitar part, though, is definitely playing an E flat major 7 chord, which still shares a lot of those notes. And then like an F. So when you overlay those on top of each other, it creates a cool sound. I don't know really what you would call that, but this part. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know. Again, you can think of it as like, or however you want to think about that. But either way, it is a nice little crunch there.
things right when I can't even get a reply.
And then yeah, I included that little moment of like extra crispiness right there. And it quickly resolves itself, but you can hear that in there. It's a nice little touch, if I do say so myself. Then the strings start getting more involved here as we get into this next verse. What are you doing?
But forcing myself to forget, strongly disliking what I see when I look at my reflection. But at least I can say it to my face.
So yeah, even just these. They're playing some nice chords there. And again, you can barely hear that in the background. Again, my philosophy of just trying to change every verse just a little bit. And so that's where you just have the strings
Remembering
that are sort of mimicking what the flutes played earlier, just lower, of course. Guitar's the exact same. And then here we have a little flute moment, this next verse. Yeah, so that's fun. And then we get into this next verse. Flutes, I think, should be playing about the same thing. Or, sorry, chorus. In fact, if I was a betting man, I'd say that I just copy and pasted the flutes from one chorus to the next. Don't tell anybody. But we did add this other harmony to the vocals. So here we go.
one by one the bridges burn down, done and done, except that they've won without saying a word.
And that's it. Again, I had to bounce these together, so I can't isolate that one part.
One by one the bridges.
It's pretty simple. And that's That's pretty cool. I tried to, like, with my vocals, sort of emphasize the feel of it. One by one, the bridges burn down. Sort of that, just adding that extra oomph to it, which I think, works pretty well, maybe.
Hoping to.
Yeah. So this verse is kind of the most disparaging, kind of. Is that the right word? Hopefully. And so I wanted like a lower, more gravelly sort of flute sound. Like, yeah, it's getting real deep here. Yeah, and then very quickly we get back into another chorus. Same deal.
One by one, the bridges burn down. Done and done, except that they've won without saying a word.
Same exact thing. Choruses I left those pretty similar. Some songs I do try to change up the choruses too, but in this case, again, I added the extra harmony, and then beyond that, the other choruses are basically the same, as far as I remember. And then this last section, we'll listen to that real quick, and then we'll sort of circle back and hit some more specific things.
The olive branch was left out to die.
And that's where the vocals check out. They're done. Olive branch, good. So this is just. I tried to leave some extra slides in there, make it a little bit messier, because and that just repeats until the end. Yeah, and we've got a nice slowdown at the end, and then that's pretty fun. The flutes, what y'all doing? Just repeating that. Yeah, and remember the bass note is a. So that's a nice B D major 7 sort of thing. Nice chord at the end, and then the strings are finishing off. Come on. Yeah, everything sort of fades out together. Isn't that nice? And yeah, the vocals, just the olive branch was left out to die.
Branch was left out to die.
Yeah. Kind of, I like when the last thing you hear is sort of that ambience of the strings. That happens in a couple of my songs. I like that a lot. Let me see if I can get some lyrics up in here real quick. So bear with me for a sec. And then before I go into the lyrics, I'm gonna go over the guitar part. I will show you actually how you can play it yourself if you're so inclined. I don't like what it does here when I try to paste lyrics. They turn weird. So make those white and bigger. That's big enough, right? Y'all can read that. Go away, colors. Go away, fonts. Good night, moon. So, before I do that, I'm going to switch And let me show you this guitar stuff real quick. Oh, my guitar's right here. It's almost like I knew I was going to need it. I did. In case you had any doubts, we're in drop D here. So, I don't know if you guys have heard the song Penguins by Ed Sheeran. First unveiled in the movie Yesterday, I think, but then he actually released a version of it. Originally it was in E, but the version I was, most familiar with is in D. And the way he plays it is like, basically just using these top three strings, and that's really it for the whole song. She said we are... how does it go? Yeah. She said we are penguins on the ice. I'm not warmed up right now, guys. And so I was playing around with that sort of vibe, and that's how I came across the, I was like, that's cool. And so it's pretty simple. I mean, once you get the meter down, it's pretty simple part. And then, sorry, no. And then down to exact same shape. That's the only shape that's different. And then the other ones. One by one the bridges burn down. Back to done and done except they've won. And then the part that's different. I'm growing tired. Then you got your E minor. And then just down to again. Oops. Pretty simple. So it's just that for the whole thing. Then the higher part, I think, is so, and again, I played this on the mini guitar, my mini Martin, but you can get the idea from this. And then probably I think I just switched to a regular D chord. And then it's been a minute. Something like that. You guys can figure it out. I just wanted to show you that really quick. And the hardest part, I think, would be just getting the meter down, the timing while you're singing. I haven't actually even necessarily mastered that yet. So if I was ever going to do this live, I'd probably have to get that down. Or maybe like simplify it to 3/4 or 4/4 or something, 6/8 maybe. Probably 6/8. But I think I could get it down with enough practice, and so can you, if you so desire. I'm going to set this guy back down. Let's get into these lyrics. Okay, my trick again. Bijou. All right. So, I feel like most of these are pretty on the nose, pretty literal. So, it's probably pretty crystal clear what I'm talking about with the added context that I've given at the beginning of this video. But there we go. Staring at the message I sent last month, wondering if I should send another. I very quickly gravitated towards this trend of, all right, you can't see down there, having a verb ending in ing. What is that called? Is that an action verb or an adverb? I don't know. It's been a minute since I've been in second grade. Several minutes, actually. But I went with that hoping, dreaming, remembering, That's sort of your hook for each verse is like there's a new verb. Get excited. Um, and then you have some more detail in here. So, talking to the mirror for hours on end. I, for one, I don't know about y'all, but I'm a master at having conversations with myself. Sometimes I'll imagine having a conversation with somebody. If I know that I'm about to have a conversation with somebody, a difficult conversation, I'll practice it, sort of going through the entire thing in my head. What am I going to say? How would I respond to this? All of that stuff. Sometimes imaginary conversations that will never happen. I'll just start, talking to myself as if I'm explaining something to somebody that never asked and will never ask, like explaining the whole Zelda timeline in my head to myself. Just stuff like that. But yeah, so this to the mirror, I don't literally look in the mirror and talk. I just in my head, sort of this image, telling yourself that I tried everything I could, but kind of to no avail. Dreaming of finally making amends, crying as I wake. This dreaming thing, I swear to you, this is literal. The brain's trying to tell me something, and I'm like, yeah, I know, thanks. Constantly dreaming of like actually having those conversations, and making everything right, sort of getting that closure, and it still happens. It really does frequently, like literal dreams of that, and and yeah, it gets old. It makes it tough to like fully accept it and move on. Or honestly, it makes me think that maybe I that's when I'm reminded like maybe I haven't fully moved on if I'm still, actively having dreams about this. But there you go. One by one, the bridges burn down. Again, this is where we get into the plural bridges, meaning that this could be about multiple people, a whole group of friends, really one person in particular, but still applies. Done and done, except that they've won without saying a word. My ears are on fire. This is kind of a stretch, but the phrase like your ears are. I'm sorry. Oh, you can see it now. I forget that my stupid face is covering some of these lyrics. The saying like your ears burn if somebody's talking about you. That's what I was going for here. I hope that translated. I just needed to rhyme something with tired, and also being on fire is like more dramatic than just burning. Um, Vying and trying and vying and prying and crying and dying, to make things right, and I can't even get a reply again. Pretty self-explanatory. Um, and yeah, this is sort of acknowledging that yeah, I understand that I kind of brought this upon myself, and that's what makes it especially hard sometimes. It's like, man, I would almost rather them just be able to even no matter what happened, just be able to have a conversation. Better hear you know hear something than nothing. Um, and yeah, this is this is kind of it. Then you get the other chorus. The olive branch, just another piece of imagery. Olive branch being extended to somebody when you're trying to make amends or make up, and just sort of this image of holding out this olive branch and like it was left out to die, meaning they didn't take it. Um, Again, like I know some of this imagery is a little dramatic, and some of it is like, wow, that's it just disparaging or whatever. But truly, it's sort of just a way to sort of strongly express like the height of these feelings. Day to day, it's not like you know um, it definitely a lot of time has passed, and I would say I'm definitely like coping with it. It's just um, still you get these sort of bursts of feeling about it, and man, like it still burns because if you haven't gotten that closure or that um, I don't know, it's still a sore spot for sure sometimes, and this song was sort of just one of those ways for me to get that out there, even if nobody really gets anything from it except for me, which I incidentally I think people have told me that they have, like they have it's resonated with them. Maybe for them it is about a breakup, and that's perfectly okay. Whatever this song means for you, I think that's awesome, and I really appreciate that feedback. Um, but really it was sort of just a cathartic thing for me, and I made the conscious decision to not include this on any album because this was out well before. This was like the second song I wrote this year, when I figured out, hey, I actually can kind of write songs. At the beginning of this year, I just randomly started writing songs again. All my past attempts had sort of fizzled out. But yeah, this was I think the second or third one that I came up with, and shortly after that, I started on my first album, Mind Map, and I decided not to put this one on there, even though I did put a couple other ones on there that I'd already written. And I think this one kind of needs to stand alone, sort of as a single, if you will. Just because it's kind of different from the other ones. It's more real, like I said, and yeah, I just feel like it needs to stand on its own, and not get lost in in just an album or collection. But it is honestly like all encompassing how real it is, and the musical stuff, and it really is one of my favorites to this day that I've written, and definitely still kind of tough to listen to sometimes just because of how real it is, and I think that speaks to how well I was able to capture this feeling in this song. So yeah, that's about all I got about this one. And again, like I said, I think I briefly said this, but another album is coming very soon. I would say it's all done except for the art, which I'm still working on with a friend of mine. When that's done, I'll be submitting all the songs, and then whenever they're released to all the platforms, then I'll be making some sort of announcement about it. And then after a little bit, then I'll be going through all of those songs in this fashion as well, like I did with Mind Map. Let me come back here because I think we're done with Logic. That's what I'm going to be doing. I will be going through those songs. Super excited. There's a lot of fun stuff that I can't wait to get into with these songs. It's about 20 minutes worth of music, pretty similar to Mind Map, but there's more tracks. It's just a lot of them are shorter. I think there's 7 or 8 tracks on the album, and I'm really excited about that. And I will see you guys then in similar fashion to this again. If I don't see you before that, got a couple music videos from that album going to be rolling out too, as well. And that's about all I got. So I will go ahead and leave it at that for now because I do have some other stuff that I'm working on right now. But thank you guys for watching, and let's check on our guy here. Yep, he's not quite there yet. Give him a little longer, and he'll be like, this big, dripping off the table and all that stuff. Pretty fun. I'm planning to keep this guy on my desk indefinitely, because sometimes it gets a little too warm outside, and this even just the thought of this guy cools me off a little bit, and it's just a fun little thing to have on the desk. But yeah, I will leave you with this. Goodbye. Peace out.